Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. I'm joined today by Dave. Dave, can you please introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you do?
Certainly, Gleb. Thank you for having me. My name's David Ayersman. I'm Vice President and Chief Information Officer at New River Community and Technical College in West Virginia.
And tell me a little bit about how you are working on adopting generative AI.
Well, I imagine, like most of my peers, it's something that is really difficult to keep up with, to be honest, because it's just
Mm,
happening so quickly, and it's not replacing anything else. We have to do everything else, and yet we still have AI
mm,
that we have to learn about. We have to be prepared to defend against because it's an arms race, really, with bad
mm,
actors gathering their information even quicker than we can. And
mm,
so it's a difficult situation, but it's exciting. Probably the most exciting time I've been in higher ed, and I've been in higher
mm,
ed for 30 years or more.
mm. So what makes it so exciting for you?
Well, like I said, the change is so rapid, but it's
Mm,
also so promising. It's got so much potential because
mm,
it's, first of all, we're learning new definitions. We're learning a new language about how we can
mm,
even refer to it and how AI can assist us. It's not just one thing.
mm,
AI is a lot of different kinds of things, as we well know.
mm,
And so it can be ultimately, down the road, maybe a couple more years, it can be pretty much standalone potentially without
mm,
a lot of human intervention. But for right now, it's a tool that we can add to our
mm,
arsenal of other tools to improve performance in a lot of different areas. And I think
mm,
there are plenty of examples for that, but something as simple as Grammarly, just to take the burden of linguistics and grammar checking and spell checking
mm,
away from the writer, it frees them up to put their ideas out more quickly. And so something like
mm,
a grammar checker is a wonderful tool. But the
mm,
opposite of that would be something that's creating content and then pretending to be written by the student. And so those are challenges that we
mm.
also have.
Now, tell me a little bit more about how you're approaching AI governance. So you're talking about these challenges, promises and challenges that require some kind of policies and some kind of governance. How are you approaching the questions of governance around generative AI?
Excellent question. And I feel like we're, like a lot of other people, probably we're a little bit more behind than we would like to be. We don't yet have a
Mm,
policy, for example, at my college for AI. It's just so new and changing so
mm,
quickly that it's difficult to pin down, but we're getting there. It's on our list now and it's a high priority. But we're looking
mm,
to state agencies, we're looking to vendors and other organizations, the federal government, about what
mm,
their AI policies show, what they cover,
mm,
as a guide for how we can develop our own and meet our unique needs.
mm. So tell me a little bit about some use cases that you've developed that you find are helpful. So let's talk about some helpful, talk about some challenges and problems as well. But tell me a little bit about what you found to be helpful besides the grammar checker.
Certainly. Well, I think a big one is really, like I said, the arms race. For us to get a leg up in the
Mm,
arms race against the bad actors, our cybersecurity defensive measures need to incorporate AI, and we have.
mm,
We've adopted a program, Sophos MDR is just one example.
mm,
There are many others, CrowdStrike and more. But the point is that we've added the intelligence to our defensive posture so that
mm,
we can be prepared to address the AI threat of bad actors.
mm. Tell me a little bit more about the threats. What are the kind of threats that you're seeing out there? And so that what are you trying to prepare for?
Well, the most immediate threat, I guess you could say, would be fake IDs or fake applications for admission to the college. These are
Mm,
people or bots possibly that are submitting applications to be admitted to the college. They get financial aid potentially if they're successful, and then they basically steal that money from the federal government.
oh, wow.
We haven't had a case of that at my college, but from what I've
Mm,
read, we've certainly had fake applications. We've been able to identify those. But with the
mm,
help of AI, which we're not yet applying or implementing at my school, but we're preparing to, we're looking at
mm,
being able to defeat that threat too. But that's just one.
mm,
I mean,
mm,
there's so many, to be honest with you. I mean, we have
mm,
the landscape, the threat landscape is much broader now because of AI. We've got
mm,
IoT. We've got even our own uses of AI are now targets for malicious AI to attack. And so it's
mm,
not just the people they're attacking, it's also our own AI that is a victim potentially of that.
mm. That makes sense. Tell me a little bit more about the kind of conversations that you're having with the leadership about the strategy around generative AI. What is how does the leadership of the college, the president, the provost, other people who are involved in conversation, how do they think about generative AI, and what kind of are you conveying to them? What are the top level conversations?
I think one thing we all have in common is that we're grasping and reaching as far as we can to get more information about where we are, what's coming down the road very soon,
Mm,
what are the immediate threats, what can we do, and what can we afford to do? Because a
mm,
small community college doesn't have deep pockets. We have to
mm,
be limited about how we can pick and choose what we do. And so questions generally about what is it, how
mm.
can we use it to our advantage, and how do we need to be prepared to not be taken advantage of by people that might have a bad intent, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
So a lot of that
Now,
question is
okay.
really we're going to evolve soon, I think, to have a policy for AI, and I think that's going to
Mm,
help formalize some of these discussions and thoughts that we're having, and some of the
mm.
information that we've gathered, and some of the ideas that we have.
How are you learning about AI? What kind of approaches are you taking to learning about this tool?
Well, to be honest, you can't. Every news brief I get practically has
Mm,
something about AI. It's
mhm,
such a common topic. It's hard to miss AI, but to
mm,
really rifle in on the good information, you have to be specific and selective, I guess, about choosing where you get
mhm,
it. I think one of the most recent documents I've begun to take a look at, and vendors too, are sources of information. Like one vendor's given
mm,
us the definitive guide to AI in higher education.
mm.
Of course, that's just their perspective. But
Sure.
we have a lot of vendors. I mean, 20 or more vendors that each have their opinion about what we should be doing to prepare for AI. But I
Mm,
think that federal government and other documents, I've got a artificial index. Let me get to the top of the document. Artificial Intelligence Index Report for 2025. I thought I
mhm.
would go through that pretty quickly, but it's over 400 pages. And that's just
Oh, wow.
one, there's 8 of these. This is the 8th year they've done it, but it's got
Mm,
tremendous information in there. And it really
mm,
does boil it all down. It sounds overly lengthy, but it's a quick read, to be honest, and it's got good information in it for higher ed.
mm. Now, thinking ahead, what kind of barriers are you anticipating to adopting generative AI effectively?
There are a couple of real obvious barriers. Like I mentioned, one is budget. Not
Mm,
every vendor that we've got is beginning to release AI features with their updates. And so
mm,
I made a list just recently for the benefit of these discussions we're having at my campus about, well, a lot of people are thinking that we still need to prepare to use AI, but in reality, we've got 23 vendors at my college already implementing AI.
mm,
And so it's sort of sneaking into the institution. It's not
mhm,
coming in with bells and whistles. It's coming in sort of quietly. It's a new
mhm,
feature that Zoom, for example, we're using right now,
mhm,
heavily uses AI. And so we've got a lot of other products that are implementing
mhm.
AI features. Um, I sort of forgot the question. Could you go back to that real quick?
Sure. The barriers, what kind of barriers and
Barriers.
obstacles?
And one of those obstacles is that it's not coming in with an announce starting on this date, we're going to use AI. No,
Mm,
every vendor has their own calendar. And so
mm,
this is sneaking in. So one barrier is you can't stop it. We
mm,
just need to wrap our arms around it and try to control it to
mhm,
some extent.
mhm. That makes sense. Now, as we finish up, is there anything else that you haven't shared with me and anything you want to share about your vision for what your ideal vision for generative AI usage at the college would be?
That's a very interesting question too, because it requires you to imagine a future that is,
Yes.
no one can predict it, but we sort of see some things that are going to happen. As I mentioned, I think early on, at some point, it's going to become standalone. Right now,
Mm,
human intervention is still pretty much required to make AI do what we need. But at some
mm,
point, it's going to be a lot more autonomous. And that's going to
mm,
be a really exciting moment, I think, when that time comes. But
mm,
up until then, we're going to just make progressive steps, but it's going to be fits and starts where it's going to be
mm,
huge releases and advancements, and then maybe a little quiet period. But then it comes not in a linear path. It comes in
mm.
spikes, I guess you could say.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise, Dave. That was very, very helpful.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you to the audience for checking out another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you checked out the show and leave a review. It helps other people discover the show and helps us improve the show. And if you have any questions, email me at gleb, Gleb, at disasteravoidanceexperts.com.